Hi, this is Rebecca and welcome to Reflections from the Saddle. I wanted to talk a little bit today about why I'm so big on reward-based training. A lot of people have an aversion to it because they don't think that you should be feeding horses as a reward. Basically, science takes care of the reasons why food rewards work and why rewards work at all. But let me just talk about my own experience and what I've seen. Let me go back first and talk about the Premack principle. So the Premack principle basically states that if you have something that is not liked, disliked, maybe it's a little bit scary, maybe it's just not comfortable for the horse. If you pair that with something that they like a lot, it's almost like what they like a lot rubs off on the other thing, and they start to think about this thing not so bad. So for instance, a perfect sort of benign example of this is if you have a horse that doesn't really like to be hosed. Now, I don't mean that he hasn't been taught to stand still to be hosed, but some horses are, just really sensitive and they don't like to be brushed or they don't like to be hosed or something like that. And I think training-wise, you can work to have them tolerate that. But if you actually want them to like being hosed, you need to pair it with a reward. So a great example would be to take your horse out, drag the hose out of the barn, and let them graze while you hose them off. After a while, it's like the grazing, they look forward to the grazing, and they know the grazing is paired with being hosed, so they actually kind of look forward to being hosed. And then all of a sudden you can take the grazing away and it's not that big of a deal. They've done studies with this with like children who don't like algebra, but they pair it with something that they do like. Let's say if they do 5 minutes of algebra, they get to go do a puzzle that they like, and oddly enough, they start to like algebra more. So it's a whole scientific principle. But where it plays so well in the horse world is that you all know those really good performances and that really good like bond that you see between a horse and a rider doesn't just happen overnight. That's something that's built. And reward-based training seems to build that stronger and faster. And so where I may be able to do something with my horses because they totally trust me and life has been rewarding while they're with me, they wouldn't let a stranger do. And a perfect example is my one horse gets injections and I can give them to him and I don't even need a holder. But if the vet comes, he's not good about it because he has the trust with me. He knows it's reward. He knows life with me is rewarding. He knows he gets a reward if he stands still. And so he's just better with me. And I've even had horses that are like super good for me to bridle, then maybe not be so good with someone else because they don't have that relationship. And granted, we want to train all horses to be good no matter who's handling them. But there are specific times in my life where I felt like, wow, this horse really stepped up to the plate for me, and he didn't have to, or she didn't have to, but she did. And I totally credit that to the reward-based training. I totally credit that to their life being rewarding when they're with me. And so it's almost like I'm using the Premack principle with me, meaning I'm making me seem more appealing and more fun and more rewarding, and they want to be with me because when they're with me, they get rewarded. The other thing I wanted to mention is that the whole process of learning about reward-based training and learning about positive reinforcement and negative reinforcement and punishment and learning all the different ways that horses learn is really good information for just understanding how to train, how to break things down into small behaviors. What's the timing that you should be rewarding, or the time that you're releasing pressure, or the timing that you want to use so the horse really understands what you're asking. And all those things are kind of skirted on in the horse world, and the horse world's kind of done by, well, this is what we did before and it worked. But when you really understand the scientific principles behind how horses learn, it makes the learning process so much faster. And it also makes the process more fun, and it also kind of intellectually gets you involved, but not in a way, like in an exciting way. Oh, well, let's try this. Oh, let's try that. Oh, you know, I think my timing's off. Let me work on that. Instead of concentrating on what's wrong, you concentrate on what's right. And it just snowballs into a better attitude with you, a better attitude with the horse. It just makes learning something more like a game and more fun, and not so much like, oh gosh, we have to get this perfect, and he's not getting it perfect, and I don't know why, and we're going to drill it until we get it perfect. Instead, you come away with the knowledge to say, okay, that's not quite what I want. Let's make it a little bit better today. How can I break this down so the horse understands, so I can make it a little bit better today? And it really gives you the tools to do that. So that's why I'm such an advocate for reward-based training. To me, I feel like every person needs to know it, every person needs to learn it, every trainer, every rider, every owner, and they need to take these principles and apply it. And you know, you might not notice the difference in the first month. You probably will. I highly doubt that you wouldn't, but let's say you don't. You would definitely notice it after a couple months, a year. I mean, I've been doing it now for, oh gosh, 12, 15 years, and I can't imagine not doing it. I don't know how I didn't have that tool in my toolbox prior to this. So with all that said, I just hope that you'll kind of get over the fact that you're like, well, I don't want to use food rewards. One, you don't have to. There's other ways to reward your horse. Two, I want you to open your mind that it's not that big of a deal to use food rewards. It can very seamlessly be integrated into what you already do. And just kind of open your mind to a new experience, and let the scientific principles come in about training, and let them build and expand on what you already know. All right, thank you. Thank you for joining me today.